choices. Choose a bank that takes your money seriously. Business Watch is brought to you by Nedbank.
And the clock has already hit 2 p.m. this Wednesday. A very good afternoon to you and welcome to Business Watch, brought to you by Nedbank in partnership with Eswatini TV. My name is Nosele Sitole.
My name is Fiso Ngumalo. Thank you so much for joining us here as we track all the investments that are fueling the decisions as well as the economies of tomorrow. On the program today, two interesting developments on my end. We focus on the shaping of Eswatini's growth story. So first, we want to look at the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, which has rolled out the National Human Resource Planning and Development Policy 2024 to 2030. It is a framework that is designed to close the gap between the skills our economy demands as well as those our people can supply. Our economist, Sanela Sibia, will help us to unpack what this policy could mean for productivity, jobs, as well as long-term competitiveness.
Also coming up on the program today, after a lively showcase of the Green Zone at the Eswatini International Trade Fair, the focus on sustainability continues with Nedbank. Yes, the bank highlighted its commitment to driving environmentally conscious initiatives, showing how financial institutions can play a crucial role in supporting a greener future. But today, we speak to one business in particular that was supported by the bank to, as they always say, see money differently. But first, our business news.
Digital helps you make cross-border payments. Human gives you global specialists. Digital allows you to apply for a loan anytime, anywhere. Human connects you to credit experts. Digital puts you in control of your money, while Human connects you to wealth advisors. Digital allows you to freeze, unfreeze, cancel, and reorder your card. Human gives you that personal touch. Digital when you want it. Human when you need it. Get the complete private banking experience with Nedbank Private Clients.
All right, 3 minutes after 2, you're still watching Nedbank Business Watch. We get into our very first segment now, our business news.
The Ministry of Agriculture will this month receive an expected consignment of 150,000 doses valued over 3 million Malangeni to strengthen vaccination of livestock affected by the outbreak of the foot and mouth disease. This was confirmed by the ministry's principal secretary, Sydney Smilane, when speaking to this broadcaster on the impact of the FMD on especially livestock trade and the strategies being implemented to contain the disease.
We want to highlight that basically the market that has been affected is the export market. That one has been put to a hold simply because as a country we have a responsibility to announce the status of the foot and mouth disease to all countries that we trade with. So the moment you make that announcement, then trade has to cease. This will happen until such time that we have done a full audit to check whether the disease has been completely eradicated in the country, and then we can resume our trade. So to be specific, people that have been affected in our trade as far as the effect of foot and mouth disease is concerned, we have butchery owners, we have abattoirs, and then we have feedlot owners. It's very important to understand that we have stopped the movement of livestock in the country. So these business institutions would go out throughout the country sourcing feeder stock for their businesses, which is no longer possible now. So the impact that it has is a very bad one, because it simply means they cannot continue working. So they have to search within a smaller area, which is the Hoho region and maybe Manzini region. We requested a budget of 40 million emalangeni from government, which is managed by a National Disaster Management Agency on our behalf. We were granted that budget, but the money that was used to buy the vaccinations was 2.5 million emalangeni. And we had ordered 100,000 vaccinations, because we knew that the number of livestock that was affected was around 50,000. And we had to do a double dose, because they were vaccinated the first time, and then we had to vaccinate again. So we knew that we needed a double dose for the livestock. So we are expecting around the 17th of September 150,000 doses of the vaccinations again. The strategy that we are using here is to cover a bigger area than the affected area and move from the outer area into the epicenter where the actual affected livestock is.
All right, that marks the end of our business news segment.
After the break, Sifiso is in conversation with UNESCO. This is Nedbank Business Watch. Stay tuned.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Right, welcome back. The United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, has supported the Copyright Society with 1.5 million emalangeni under the Copyrights for Eswatini's Cultural and Creative Industries Initiative. Now, what inspired this support? How will this transform the creative sector? Let's speak to the Secretary General of UNESCO, Lwandle Simelane, who is in studio with me now. She's going to uncover how this funding is going to help businesses tackle industry challenges as well as to explore new opportunities for growth as well as innovation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
How do you do?
Very well, thank you.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
Heard through the grapevine.
Thank you very much.
It was your birthday yesterday. Incredible work, first and foremost, 1.5 million emalangeni towards such a great initiative. As someone who plays within the creative industry myself, I can see why this is important, but I do want to ask you, why now?
It's very important that we support the creative economy,
right,
and strengthen the systems to ensure that our creatives are well compensated. So this fund is built and made for that under the banner of the 2005 Convention for the Protection of diversity for cultural expressions.
Yeah, there's been long-standing barriers and challenges within the creative industry, and I suppose one of the most piercing ones for a very long time has been, copyright enforcement, limited financing, and, they sound very structural. How directly does this grant address these challenges?
Firstly, building capacity and, of course, a strategic plan. I'd like to commend the Ministry of Commerce for the Copyrights Act, which developed the Eswatini Copyright and Neighboring Rights Society, which works on ensuring the compensation. So this fund basically strengthens the work of the Copyrights Society.
Yeah.
So it's to build the systems so that it's sustainable. It's not just a once-off thing. We want it to be sustainable.
Yeah. Here's the thing about funding. Funding is often just the beginning, right? A lot then has to follow. And I suppose we are speaking technical, we are speaking institutional support too. And I wonder what kind of technical and institutional support is going to accompany this important funding to ensure that indeed the sector is not only funded, but it is also future-proofed.
And I'm so glad you mentioned it.
Right.
That is just the beginning.
Of course.
And a lot of it has to be sustainable. I'll keep saying, I'll keep talking about sustainability.
Right.
So as you know, UNESCO works with the creative arts, and we have our people available to assist in strengthening the society. So it's not just a monetary funding, but also technical to take them through, looking at countries that have really created a conducive environment for creatives. So it's not just a funding. And I'm so glad we have to understand that we have to put in the weight as well.
Yeah.
From the private sector to government, we all have to pull our weight.
When we look at the creative sector and we bring it home here in Eswatini, and we juxtapose that with other developed economies, we sort of see this overarching gap. But, I know in your position, that gap is supposed to be viewed as potential, because we are awake to how much the creative economy contributes to developed economies' GDP. You look at South Africa, you look at, I think America and South Africa are really good examples, but you can also look at Nigeria, what they've done with Afrobeats and Nollywood. I wonder, in Eswatini's context, where do you see the biggest growth opportunities that will be unlocked by this intervention?
Job creation.
Right.
I would definitely speak of job creation. And it's globalized. If we're strengthening, it opens us up for partnerships.
Right.
And it becomes difficult to partner when you don't have a strong ecosystem.
Yeah.
Quality jobs, as the National Development Plan stipulates, and the creative economy is basically the lowest hanging fruit. But if we do it right, and if we create a strong ecosystem, it opens opportunities for us to partner with countries such as South Africa, your Kenya, your Ghana, your Nigeria.
And certainly, we do see the keen interest from UNESCO in supporting the creative industry. And perhaps, sometimes when you say creative industry, some people get lost there.
Yeah.
We're also speaking arts, we're speaking culture.
Of course.
And when we speak of arts, there's a whole umbrella.
Of
We've
course.
seen what you've been doing with what do they call Babugisi Foundation?
Yeah.
You've supported them, supporting other creative initiatives as well. If you were to pinpoint under this big umbrella of this creative economy, where are our biggest opportunities?
I would say culture, if we position ourselves correctly, we have a rich cultural tapestry,
Right.
And it's a great opportunity because it's accompanied by tourism as well. So I would say definitely culture on the digital footprint and from Eswatini to the world.
I love culture because I think we also have an immediate example. We just concluded Butimba and Umhlanga. Well, Umhlanga is yet to go to the Shiselweni region, but we did see record-breaking numbers.
Of
and
course.
Indeed, some of the partners that you've been working with have expanded that footprint digitally.
Of course.
And has therefore, culminated into what you're speaking about when you speak at tourism. But I do also want to understand inclusivity and reach, because this initiative also wants to make sure that the support doesn't just reach the big names, but also young, emerging and budding creators in their rural townships, right?
Of course. So we'll make sure region to region.
Okay.
We're big on inclusion, persons with disabilities, the young, the old. So we will make sure that we work with and we're fortunate. We have our cultural structures. We will be working with those to ensure that we reach them. And what we've discovered is that the young kids, even in the schools, have an interest, have a keen interest. However, we need them to appreciate the element of copyright and how much work goes into the creative economy. And being a creative, it's not just about the craft.
Yeah.
There's so much more to it than just the craft.
And I understand the angst and anxiety that comes with learning about scientific things and technical things like copywriting and everything. But I hope they get to understand that this is really for their own benefit, and certainly the people that you're talking about that are very talented. In fact, equally talented as the people in modern areas and urban areas, those in the remote areas deserve to have this opportunity. But perhaps as we part way now and as we cap off our conversation, let's look at the long-term vision. Now, you did say this is just the beginning. If we fast forward 5 years from now, what tangible outcomes would you love to see after 5 years?
Oh, I would love to see our creatives being reimbursed what they deserve. And also, I just want to encourage creatives to register under the Eswatini Copyrights and Neighboring Rights Society, and look out for the call for the International Fund for Cultural Expressions. Please look out for our pages, and don't be afraid to write, read, and apply yourselves. The creative economy is really a possibility, globalized.
Secretary General, thank you so much for your time. I really, really like the word that you use. In 5 years, she hopes that our creatives are reimbursed, because they have really invested within the creative sector, and it feels as if though they're being robbed off their, intellectual property, their creativity, the work that they've put in to make sure that our creative industry thrives and is just as at par with other developed economies. And therefore, we hope that this comes into fruition. Radles Melane, the Secretary General of UNESCO. You're still watching NetBank Business Watch. More awaits after the break.
Hi, I'm Alex. Let's talk about banks. Specifically, central banks. Believe it or not, they're really important to our everyday lives. Central banks manage the flow of money in a country's economy, so things don't go haywire. They're typically part of the government, although they should operate independently. The specific roles of central banks vary from country to country, but they usually have a few key responsibilities. Mainly, they're in charge of monetary policy to keep prices stable. One way they do this is through what's called the interest rate, which is the cost of borrowing money. Central banks lower interest rates, making credit cheap to boost the economy. Because when credit to buy things, such as homes, food, and cars gets cheaper, people tend to buy more. And who doesn't love that? But when prices get too high, central banks can raise rates, making money more expensive to borrow. This can slow growth, but it also brings down prices. Central banks also buy and sell foreign currency. They can do this to weaken or support the value of their own currency. Stability isn't just about keeping prices steady. That's why central banks also play a key role in preserving financial stability. For example, if a commercial bank is in trouble, a central bank can give them a loan, but only as a last resort. Central banks have been using all of these tools to help keep things stable for hundreds of years. Okay, so why am I telling you this? Well, whether you're buying bread, or a pomegranate, or even starting a business, that stability is important for all of us. And here at the IMF, a big part of our job is providing policy advice that can help central banks all over the world meet their price and financial stability goals.
Welcome back. You are still watching Nedbank Business Watch. Today, we continue the conversation on sustainability with Biogas Investment, a 100% Eswatini-owned company pioneering portable and wastewater treatment solutions to venturing into renewable energy generation. Joining me rather, to share the story as a company is Sibusiso Mkhwanazi, who is the Director Technical Biogas Investment. A very good afternoon to you, and thank you so much. How are you doing?
Thank you so much. I'm very well, thank you.
Right. I'd like to kick things off easily. Biogas. What is biogas? What service are you providing as a company?
Okay, thank you. Biogas is a company, as you have mentioned, 100% Eswatini owned. Established in 2013. So what we offer is water and wastewater treatment. But many people will ask why you call yourself biogas. Yes. So biogas is it's basically methane coming out from mostly industrial wastewater. So the plan was to treat industrial wastewater called effluent with the view of then harnessing biogas. So the biogas can actually be used by the industries, or you can even use it domestically for cooking, boiling water, things like that. So we were trying to look at how can we monetize wastewater treatment, because at the moment wastewater treatment is actually expensive for industries. Yes.
You've identified quite the gap in the market. How did you come about having to, as a company, deciding that you're going to open shop and provide the kind of service that you do?
Okay. If I can take you back a little, I used to work for the Eswatini Water Services as an instrument technician. So while I was working there, I was responsible for metering effluent that goes to wastewater treatment plants. So I could see how much, or the gap to say, if we can assist industries to pre-treat their effluent before it goes to Eswatini Water Services, wastewater, we can reduce the organic loading and also the requirements, heavy requirements by the municipality to treat their water. So we thought, let us come in there, but we needed to come in a way that will be unique and cost effective, something that is sustainable. So that is why we're targeting waste streams that will have a big potential to produce the biogas, so that their companies, the producers, can actually use to subsidize their fuel like coal on their boilers.
Right. How have your solutions impacted perhaps both your residential and industrial clients in Eswatini?
Okay, thank you. The ones that we have assisted, which is quite a number of them, we can already count, they have actually seen a reduction on their, I would call, penalties by municipalities. If you dump highly concentrated effluents, you actually have to be penalized, because you, as the producer, you are fully responsible for your wastewater. So we have helped those companies to actually reduce the amount of contaminants or contamination that can be discharged to river bodies or to other municipal treatment plants. So that is how we've actually done that. And out of that, we've also looked at now treating for potable water or drinking water use. So we've actually worked, now we've actually pushed our service provision to another level where we are helping companies both on the wastewater treatment and also on the potable water treatment.
Speaking of helping companies, can you perhaps share your journey as a business? You know, compare where you've started, how you started to where you are now as an entity.
I would say it's not easy to start a company, especially if you want to start a business that will compete with big companies and also compete with the culture, because we actually, as users, we tend to adapt a culture to say this is how things are done. And when you come, remember you have to come and solve a problem and also be cost effective. So usually those two things, they don't meet. But as a company and as a business person, you have to try and find a way of how you can make a very cost-effective solution, but also reach or meeting the quality that is desired or better. I always say if you are an upcoming company, you must deliver, and deliver. You know, so it all takes a lot of strength, a lot of dedication, but we managed to do it, hence that's where we are today.
For any business, partnerships, especially partnerships with financial institutions, is very critical. And as a company, you do have a relationship with Nedbank. Can you highlight the role that Nedbank has played in supporting and actually having an impact to bring about a difference in your business?
I will actually say never end dead when it comes to Nedbank, because we have, through the journey, you know, when you look for jobs, the biggest thing is also, do you have the capacity financially to do it? And when you are starting a company, usually you are very limited on financial muscle. Or even getting funds for that matter. They will ask you, do you have a balance sheet? What else do you have? Collateral, things like that. But with Nedbank, we have for now, you know, we are moving, we're able to execute our orders, we're able to execute all our jobs in time and without really looking, or rather, so we are really grateful to Nedbank, if I may say, because we have done now all our orders without fail, and we're doing it on time just because Nedbank came through for us.
Right. It's a unique space that you're operating in as a business, you know, talking sustainability and Nedbank really being there to support you as an entity. You ventured into energy generation. How do you see this contributing to the country's energy sector?
Okay, first of all, I'll just quickly tell you the journey, how we actually looked at the energy, because we are a water treatment company, but now you see us, we are also taking off energy. Water treatment is actually very energy demanding. Even today, if you look at water treatment, and you can have ways of drastically reducing your energy consumption, then you're actually positive. You know, you can monetize a water treatment. But so we then looked at other solutions. Like I said, the biogas was actually a way of reducing your energy bill, your electricity bill, by harnessing the biogas and reusing it in the same plant for when you're treating. So we have also engaged, and we took a venture to say, how can we help domestic and industries to reduce on their energy bills, which is where we are now. We have been looking at hydro, which is most of the part of the country, we have pockets of hydro possible areas, but they are not utilized, even at micro hydro stages. So that is small units of less than 10 kilowatt hour units, but they contribute more if you can actually have a small industry that can run with that. It monetizes that industry. But the biggest thing, I personally, I have worked in South Africa, and I have engaged with a lot of energy summits where other countries, which is common in Africa, we believe even here in Eswatini that might be happening, where a company like EEC supplies electricity, they've got a mandate. But in most cases, what we've seen, they supply domestic users way below, I would say, production cost or at how much they're buying it from. So that is a big loss. So we've actually came up with these solutions so that if these solutions are recognized even by these entities to say they can minimize on those losses. For example, if they use our hybrid element, which has an ability to save 80% of energy usage by the domestic user, that will mean the companies, the suppliers' losses on domestic users can be reduced by 80%. So now you've reduced your losses by 80%, which is it's actually drastical if you actually reduce now to monetary terms.
Right. Big words. For a local company, you developed a flocculant, CT6C19. Can you break it down for us? Simplify. It's a big word.
Oh, yeah. The CT6C19 is actually a flocculant. A flocculant is a product that is used for drinking water treatment. So what you see, you throw water from the river, is usually dirty. It has to be treated before it goes for consumption. So currently in most companies, they will use aluminum sulfate. As you are going more green, aluminum sulfate, it's a metal, and it will have residual particles in your water, and it also introduces now metals to your water bodies. So the flocculant is actually a more organic product to treat water, and the advantage is it actually cleans or it helps, or it cleans your water way better than the aluminum sulfate. The performance, because what we did, we looked at all our competitors, or compared the suppliers that we are targeting, and then we actually blended a product that can outperform all of them, and which it has proven and is an accredited. We have it accredited by NSF 240, which is a standard for drinking water. So it's a very good product. We're still pushing it. The users, the ones that are using it, are very happy. It works from very low turbidities, which is almost clean water, to very dirty water, like brown water.
Right, so thank you very much. That was Sibusisa Mkhwanazi, Director Technical for Biogas Investment. That's actually a company, local company, 100% Eswatini owned, supported by Nedbank, while we're still talking all things sustainability. For now, we'll catch a break. After that, Nedbank Business Watch continues. Stay tuned.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.za.
Welcome back. The Ministry of Labour and Social Security recently launched the National Human Resource Planning as well as Development Policy 2024-2030. It is a strategic framework that is used to strengthen the knowledge, to strengthen skills as well as the capabilities of Ole Maswati to meet both current and future economic demands. Now, the policy aims to expand skills development opportunities, to promote continuous learning as well as drive curriculum reforms in the education sector, focusing on competency-based programs that are aligned with industry needs as well as national development goals. With the private sector consistently highlighting the issue of skills mismatch, just now critical is the policy in today's economy climate. Today, we unpack this. We are joined by our economist, Sanle Sibiya, to unpack this development. Sanle, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you for your time. An interesting development indeed, because this has been a concern for a very long time. Firstly, what's your reaction to this development? Right, Mr. Sibiya, a very good afternoon to you. It seems as though we are experiencing a bit of some technical glitches there. But welcome to the program, Mr. Sibiya. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. The Ministry of Labour and...
Hi, Nguman.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sibiya. Thank you for your time. We are discussing the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, which has rolled out the National Human Resource Planning and Development Policy 2024-2030. First, I just want to get your reaction from it, because, you know, what it wants to remedy is something that has been quite a thorn for some time now.
Thank you, Mr. Ngumalo. So when I looked at the strategy or the policy, I mean, it does try to solve the problems that we are looking into in terms of transforming our education system, you know, youth employment, those technical vocational skills, you know, industry cutting edge linkages. So it does speak to the issues that we need to address as a country in order to deal with the problem of unemployment and the problem of making sure that we are producing the relevant skills that are required, you know, for our graduates to actually be absorbed. And when you look at it, the way its architecture, Mr. Ngumalo, you can see that it seems to, you know, build Eswatini to be a player in the global economy by, you know, trying to ensure that we are moving into or bolstering into the STEM streams. You know, that's your science, technology, and engineering and mathematics type of learning, and we're looking into your ICT and digital skills. I mean, we've seen already the minister in the previous week, you know, the Minister of Information Technology, Honorable Savannah Mazia, stating that she was looking at training around 300,000 Maswati in coding, Mr. Ngumalo. Now, that's one of the things that we need as a country to be part of a global economy. And another thing, we're also seeing, you know, those moves to mining and energy, and which is fine and well. It does state where you need, it does state what we need to do in order to get Eswatini to be part of the global economy. But what we're seeing seems to be lacking, Mr. Ngumalo, is there are issues that, you know, the strategy does speak to issues of funding, but then it becomes an issue of how well and how sustainable that funding is going to be, and how are we going to fund this ambitious project. I mean, we looked at it does talk into issues of an education and training levy, which you know, is expected to be funded through by companies, and it will also look into issues of a revolving scholarship fund, and also looking into issues of how do we structure our scholarship fund and our scholarship system to ensure that those who can actually pay, Mr. Ngumalo, do pay, and then so that those resources can be freed to take care of the lower end or spectrums of society. That way you'd be bridging the educational gap, Mr. Ngumalo. But then questions still linger on the fact that most of the things that we are seeing in the strategy, we are not seeing for the first time, Mr. Ngumalo. One, then I wonders, what this strategy proposes in order to close those bottlenecks, what has been the stalling factor behind, setting up a revolving scholarship fund, and what have been those socioeconomic and political challenges that have been bottlenecking, that equitable access to education, ensuring that those who can actually pay do pay, because these are things we've seen before. So right now, what remains to be seen is how well are we going to do it. But overall, I would give it a 90% in terms of speaking to the issues that need to be spoken to. But we need to see how well we're going to start then implementing the strategy.
If we're speaking issues that need to be spoken to, I suppose the biggest one is, for years, the private sector has raised the alarm, has sounded the alarm on the reality that a lot of graduates, leave school with certificates, but without the competencies that the industry sort of demands or needs. If this development is to remedy this situation, what exactly, from your point of view, should be done to remedy this situation?
I think no matter what the strategy looks into is a skills anticipation survey. I think it's going to be done once every 5 years, because that's where one needs to start. What are the skills that you need as private sector, and how fast and how agile can we get our education system to metamorphosize, right, to get us those skills that we need? Can we have that agility within the education system? I think that's where we need to first start, Mr. Ngumalo. We are living in an very fast-paced world right now. We talk artificial intelligence today. Just a decade ago, we were talking in robotics with the thing. So we need to ensure that we have robust and agile response mechanisms so that we are able to just roll back our curriculum just like that. But what we need to do is to plan for a longer term. And I think what we need to start with first, before we start the implementation of the strategy, is getting, that labor anticipation survey, just try to project what we'll need for the next 20 years and then try to focus on those, because we may talk STEM. We do know that, most of the leading industries right now do require STEM, but STEM alone, without building the right engineering faculties that we need and ensuring that our students at a very young age are able to get on that bandwagon, in terms of your coding and all of those things. So it does also speak a lot to infrastructure and the anticipation of the skills, and also building an agile academic society which can actually just revolve and address emerging needs rather than the traditional conservative academia that we have at present.
Interesting. Skills mismatch. When we talk skills, we are not only talking jobs, but we are also talking, productivity. We are talking competitiveness, and I think that is key. And it's a conversation that is often overlooked. How would you say that this particular development can really close that gap? How practical can it do that?
I think, Mr. Ngumalo, like I've already said, we've seen, the Honorable Minister, launching that coding camp type of setup. Mm-hmm. Now, that's how you develop the skills that are required for industry. And right now, what industry is hiring, Mr. Ngumalo, is skills rather than the certificate. So what you need to build right now is that ecosystem that allows students not only to learn, but also acquire skills. If a person comes and they prove that, I can do this, I may not have a degree, but I am able to do this, I have the skill, I can, I'm able to work with artificial intelligence. So now that's what we need. We also need that mindset a mindset change within, the labor market, within employment facilities, to understand that at times it's about the skills, not what the person comes with on paper. But when you look at the strategy in itself, you realize that it does try to bridge that gap, Mr. Ngumalo. It does try to make, to propose a what you'd call a practical education system, with those industry linkages, because how will you know what skills are required in the industry if you do not have that interface with industry all throughout your learning journey? So once we're able to coordinate that, you'd be able to produce the skills that are required. So now that's one of the things that we are seeing happening through this strategy proposed, and then also that issue of those other activities that we're seeing different ministries putting on the table. And also, Mr. Nxumalo, we're also looking towards issues of technical and vocational education, that's your TVET and training. So again, that's where we are just cultivating an individual to come out there and be able to do something with something practical. So now this strategy tries to embrace all of that, Mr. Nxumalo. But again, I'll go back to my question of saying we've seen this, we've heard a lot about this before. What have been the bottlenecks, and how are we going to fund it? That would be my very pertinent question, Mr. Nxumalo.
Pertinent indeed. And, another one, I suppose, that too could be categorized as a pertinent question when we analyze what this policy articulates is the idea of continuous learning, right? One wants to ask, in an industry of ours where most people are in low-paying jobs, or if they're not low-paying, they are informal, how realistic is it to say we're going to build a culture of continuous upskilling?
Thank you, Nxumalo. So you are rightly pointing at the bottlenecks, but at the same time, we are living in an information age, Mr. Nxumalo. What we need to do is to get to that point as a kingdom where we have, we have the infrastructure for ICT. Because, for example, you go to sites like Coursera, you can learn virtually anything and everything, right? And it's relatively cheap, say around 800 rands a month. So what we need is to ensure that we build that pathway for our people to have access to those, and also have industry accept those, Mr. Nxumalo. Because right now what we're looking into, this would be one of what we'd call a low-hanging fruit, given the times that we're living in. Yes, if we're doing this, say 10 years ago, where people needed, not 10 years ago, like 30 years ago, where people needed to go to class to study and learn, then we'd say, how are we going to do this when you're looking at the time demands and all of those things? But right now, we do have this flexibility of online learning, and this flexibility right now, not only is it on the learning side, but also on the work side. We do have people who are engaging in flexible working environments. So what we need is this holistic change, this mindset change, not only just in the learning system and the learning process, but also in the employment process and the way people deliver in their jobs.
Thank you for your time, Sanele. Measurable shifts if this policy delivers as intended. And indeed, those pertinent questions that you pose, we hope that they finally get addressed, because, like you said, it's not the first time that such are being articulated as existing bottlenecks. But, we really need to see them, fixed now. So let's be our economist speaking to this new development. Let's go for a net break. We have our market analysis with Nedbank's Treasury Department after the break.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Welcome back. You are still watching Nedbank Business Watch. Now for our market analysis segment, I am joined by Sandy Swadlamini, who is the Treasury Dealer at Nedbank. A very good afternoon to you, Ngozi. I'd like for us to start in the US. Yesterday, we saw Apple releasing the new iPhone 17. You know, what does that mean for consumers? Any reactions on that one?
Thank you, Nancy. Good afternoon to you, and good afternoon to your viewers at home. So, as you have rightfully mentioned, Apple made a big launch yesterday for their iPhone 17, which saw a big reaction on the market. Unfortunately for Apple, their stock price dropped because the reception from the market was not so great. So there's still going to be time for this to settle, because investors are looking to see if this new product will gain a lot of sales in the market. So if Apple manages to drive up sales, maybe we will see their stock price bounce back. But at the moment, this was a bit of a disappointment, because investors are viewing the new product as not revolutionary, but as an improvement over the past designs. There are definitely a lot of improvements, but there is nothing breathtaking, or
there's no wow factor.
Yes, there's no wow factor in the product. But we will see in the next few days if sales are going to pick up. But it's also worth mentioning that what we also see is that Apple have not increased their prices relative to the tariffs that have been imposed by the US government. So these have been a good review for consumers, which means Apple as a company have taken the hit on the tariffs instead of the consumer, which is a positive.
But if the reception wasn't so well, I mean, they are ranked as one of the leading tech giants. You would expect sales to, you know, really rock within the very first few days of release. What went wrong?
So usually there is a bit of an excitement. That's the disappointing part. When a new product is introduced in the market, what we usually see is that a lot of people are excited about the new product, the new specs. Okay. But in this case, the specs are improved, but there is nothing new. Unfortunately, Apple is following behind on the Android competitors in terms of their AI implementation on their devices. We have seen a lot of AI being introduced by Samsung in the past probably 2 years, but Apple have been lagging behind in that aspect.
U.S. President has a push for 100% EU tariffs on India and China. Could we perhaps see this escalating global trade tensions?
Thank you for that question. From the U.S. perspective, so what is currently happening is that we have seen Russia ramp up their attack on Ukraine. In the past few days, we have seen Russia killing over 30 civilians, injuring over 20. So as a response, the presidents of United States have tried to coerce or include Europe in a retaliation for these attacks. So this will include the 100% tariff, which is quite high. So now he's gathering the European Union to also impose those tariffs, but not to Russia specifically, but also to India and China, who are the consumers of the Russian oil. So, but we have seen this spill over, especially to the oil prices, gold prices, because this is also putting a lot of uncertainty in the market. Right. So the prices of gold have risen, the prices of oil have risen. So the rise in specifically the oil prices is from the fact that we are currently seeing these tensions between Europe, Russia, but on a different note, we are also seeing new tensions in the Middle East. We have seen Israel strike Doha just a day or two back, where they were targeting Hamas leaders, which is something that the United States condemned, but this also signals that there might be further tensions in the space.
How are commodities reacting to this intensifying war in the Middle East when you look at the numbers?
So from the numbers perspective, if we look at commodities, gold prices have risen. This is because most people, in times of tension, they go to buy gold, which is considered a safe haven. Brent crude oil have also risen quite significantly compared to gold, and this is because in the Middle East, this is where we get most of the oil supply. So these wars are sort of disrupting that oil supply from that side. So currently what's happening is that you'd find that the suppliers of oil, one, have to supply, let's say, countries like Swaziland or South Africa, they have to change their routes for the transportation of oil to make sure that they reach those destinations. But in most cases, you find that this increase the prices of transportation, which will then translate to the price of oil. Right. So in that instance, we are experiencing those price spikes. And in the past few days, we also seen that the US dollar as a currency, the past few days, it depreciated significantly. This also translated to this because now the prices of gold and these commodities are denominated in the US dollar. So the weakening of the dollar also translates to these prices. And that was mostly coming from job data that was released yesterday, whereby the US have signaled, or the data signaled that the US have a rise in unemployment rate, which reached levels of 4.3%. Right. So yeah, there's a lot happening currently, unfortunately, especially in terms of the tensions, and this will eventually translate to the prices of commodities.
With the depreciation of the dollar, how are some of the world's leading currencies actually looking right now?
Yeah. So in terms of currencies, this morning we are trading at around 17.5, but it's important to highlight this because the US dollar was not doing so well yesterday. It depreciated heavily at the expense of the dollar. The euro and the GBP had gained. So, but this morning the dollar have bounced back. Yesterday it reached levels of 17.45 flat, but it had just bounced back just before end of close. At the end of the day, where it closed at 17.5. But that was a reaction from the jobs data. But today we are looking at PPI data, which is followed by CPI data tomorrow. These are inflation numbers to signal if the inflation in the United States is continuing to rise or it's dropping. But this will also impact the decision next week for interest rate cuts if the government or the Fed continues to cut their interest rates.
In 30 seconds, what's your observation of equities?
In terms of equities, equities have all risen. This might not be consistent with the trade tensions in the Middle East, but what's happening is that for the JSE All-Share, we are seeing that South Africa is relying a lot on commodities like gold and platinum, and the prices of gold have risen significantly in the past few days, and it's projected to continue to rise. So the rand have benefited a lot on that, even though there are tariffs that have been imposed to the country. In terms of the FTSE index, it have also increased, and the S&P. For those, the increase might not be welcomed by most, but because of the tensions, we have seen that stock prices for defense companies have also risen because these are companies that will make a lot of money in the case of a breakout war in the Middle East or even in Europe. As we have seen this morning, there were reports that Poland have engaged military assets from Russia that have violated their airspace. So in response to that, NATO have attacked those. And this, we are still awaiting a response from Russia, which might escalate a war, even including NATO, which is unlikely, but it's a possibility.
Right. Sandiswa, thank you very much for your time. That was Treasury Dealer at Nedbank, Sandiswa Dlamini, breaking down the markets for us this afternoon, just filling us in on some of the headlining stories that are actually affecting markets. This has been Nedbank Business Watch. Until the next edition, take care.
Make better money choices. Choose a bank that takes your money seriously. Business Watch was brought to you by Nedbank.
high, in the bluest sky, behind a cloud that's white and fluffy.